George, come here. Hey, do you know what Grandpa does for a job?
Yes.
What does he do? Really? What do you think, Noble?
Daddy go to the zoo.
He goes to the zoo? That's his job?
What do you remember about your dad's work?
I remember that Dad was always really busy, but he always was able to make it to recitals and birthday parties and things like that. One thing I remember really enjoying in Kerrville was we would go to Dad's office, and usually Angela and I would play on the phones and the copy machines, and this would be like on the weekends when no one was there, and we would play in the we'd get on the exam tables and make it go up and down, and I remember really enjoying his office as well as the aquarium.
What I remember the most is actually in Kerrville, his office building. Really enjoying going to hang out there. He had a really cool fish tank in the lobby, but then he had this helium machine where we could play with, I remember lots of balloons with helium. And then Sarah and I would go into his patient rooms because he had those tables that would raise up and down. And so I just remember we actually really liked going up to his office on the weekends and just kind of hanging out there. So I know that every chance we got, if we got the opportunity.
So I remember not much in Kerrville. I mean, I think I had the famous I want to be a dad who stays home quote. So I remember him being out a lot in Kerrville. But I still have obviously memories of like mowing the lawn or doing stuff. And then in New York, I remember like Dad getting deployed and getting to like fly in airplanes, and I thought it was super cool. And then it's like wasn't really aware of what Dad actually did, like until probably like Brenham or Waco. And I don't know. It's like I remember going to his office a few times and just. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun to go. You know, I'd go whenever it's like I needed Dad to give me a shot or something. So I'd like go in the back door, and I felt cool. You know, I felt like I was, I didn't have to wait with all the other, peasants in line to get my medical care. So I remember enjoying that about Dad's work.
What I remember so much about his work, as much as I remember about what a balanced person he is. When he was home, even at the time when he was so busy and getting called in to deliver babies all the time, when he was home, he was completely 100% home. He was focused on you kids. He was focused on going fishing or whatever it was he was doing. And I think it's really a good. I could see it now when he's doing something. He's there. He's right there, and he's not thinking about something he should be doing or worrying about something he did. He's just kind of present to the moment, for lack of a better term. And so I think that's something that's kept him healthy and fresh, through the years, is the fact that he is able to just wherever he is, that's where he's, that's where he is. So.
Well, maybe not the only, but one of the things that comes to mind whenever I think about Carlos and just being married to Andy is that whenever we're out and about and someone has a medical question, Andy's go-to one-liner is, after he gives the medical advice that's generally not good advice, he says, yeah, well, my dad's a doctor. So anyways, I guess he won't be able to use that one-liner anymore. Let's see, my dad was a doctor. So.
You remember about Grandpa's work?
What I most remember is really not about his work, but I've learned a lot from how the Guerras do vacations. It's a lot different than my family. So my family's vacations that I grew up was much more plain and rigid, whereas the Guerras family vacations are more relaxed and just figure out as you go which may even mean take the longer way to get there, but that's okay because it's all about the journey. That's what I remember about Grandpa's work really on vacations.
Okay, Thomas, tell me about a time when Grandpa helped you out when you were sick, or something had happened.
Take care of me. Okay. Well, he'd always give me the strep test. I remember he always gave me the strep test when I needed it, and he also put stitches in me when we were at the property and the gate hit my face. So.
Can you tell me about that time a little more? What happened?
I don't remember a lot, but I think they were going down to the creek, and I opened the gate, and it must have opened it too fast, and it hit my face, and I started bleeding really bad. It's like right up here. Yeah.
And so what happened?
Y'all raced me over to his clinic, hospital, whatever, and he put stitches in.
Okay.
And, yeah.
My favorite memory of you treating me is when we would come to your house, and I guess Mom thought we had ear infections, and you would always check in our ears for dinosaurs.
What's the best story you remember him telling, and or what's the grossest?
Okay. I do remember a gross story where he'd gone on a medical mission trip, and there was a kid with a hole in his head, and there were maggots in the head, and so I think they stopped it up with Vaseline, and then the maggots came out, and they took tweezers and pulled out the maggots one by one. What's the best story you remember him telling?
I have a couple of stories that I remember. One of them, I don't think he actually did it, but he was telling me what he thought about doing, which was some lady, I think it was in Brenham, was kind of a hypochondriac and was saying how she was really sick. And I think Dad was saying something like, telling me later he was thinking like she's not that sick, but that he wanted to, she was getting kind of like worried. And so he said he thought about like turning around and putting on a mask and, just, oh, excuse me, just a minute, and then putting on a mask and then turning back around to her and being like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Just to kind of play into her hypochondria, which I thought was really funny. And then lots of gross stories about Dad lancing boils or cutting things out. And I always say, like, I knew I didn't want to become a doctor because of Dad's gross stories that he would tell over the dinner table. And I think that was right. I don't think I would have been a good doctor. So I really enjoyed hearing all the stories and the things that Dad ran to. And then obviously it also parlayed into some fishing spots like Mr. Brett Hauer and Brenham and different other people. You'd always be looking for the connection to go fishing.
I think we used to actually like a lot of his stories. We would ask him to tell the grossest story at the dinner table a lot of times. But one I remember a lot is whenever he was in the Air Force and he went on, it was a mission trip, and I want to say to South America, like Brazil. And there was a person that had a wound that had maggots living in it. And so in order to get the maggots out, they covered up the wound with Vaseline so that they couldn't get oxygen anymore. And then they would poke their head up to the surface one by one. And they'd pull them out with like forceps or tweezers. And I think he said they got like 6 by the time they were done.
Okay, I don't know if this is the grossest, but it's pretty gross. So it's just a few years ago, Dad started meeting with some men from our church at lunch, once a month or something like that. So it was his last patient before lunch turned out to be, he had a cyst or something that he needed to have lanced. And Dad, Carlos loves to lance cyst. So he thought, oh man, this is going to take a little bit longer. So he was kind of in a hurry. And when he opened it up, it exploded and got, stuff all over everything, all over him, all over and so, he cleaned it up, drained it, stitched the guy up. But he said it stunk really, really badly. So he washed his hands, washed his shoes. I think it was on his shoes. He did all this stuff. And then he rushed to have lunch with these guys. But when he was sitting down, he could still smell it. He thought, did he get my nose, and anyway, so he had lunch and apologized to them if he smelled bad. Came back to the office and he's like, what is it? And he took his glasses off, and it was like, there was stuff on his glasses, and so I thought, that's pretty gross.
That's hideous. That could be left off.
I know. That's a great
I
one.
remember that story.
Yeah.
This one I always
Oh,
think of.
man, yeah.
Do you have a memorable, you're Dr. Guerra's kid experience?
Yeah, like there's a couple. It's like I still remember Coach Edney at Waco Christian. She would always say, oh, I love your dad. He takes time and he listens to what you have to say, which is funny because she's a talker and a little bit of a complainer. So that one always cracked me up. And then it's like anytime I would go to the office, and say, oh yeah, I'm Dr. Guerra's son. I need to see my dad for something. They're, oh yeah, yes. Like they would be happy about it. I remember that. It's like people were excited to hear that I was Dr. Guerra's son. So that was cool. It's cool to know like your dad has a great reputation and people really like him and respect him. So I don't know. It was both like it made me proud, and I was also like, oh crap, like it made me feel like I guess I should dress nicer or something, or be a little more put together when I come and say I'm Dr. Guerra's son. But yeah, I remember those times.
But I do remember, especially in Kerrville, it was very normal to hear that, oh, you're Dr. Guerra's daughter. That was really normal. And then when we moved to New York and not to have that was very strange. That was very different.
There were actually a lot. Once we got to the Air Force, less so, but in Kerrville, I feel like it was every conversation. The first time I met any adult, that was like, as soon as I said my last name, they were like, oh, you're Dr. Guerra's daughter, literally every time. But along those lines, I think one of the stories I remember the most about being Dr. Guerra's kids is whenever we left Kerrville, people owed him a lot of money. And he paid me 10 cents an envelope to mail a bill. And I just remember some people paid, and I still remember one person paid and him putting the check back and mailing it back to her with a note saying, hey, buy something for your baby instead. Because he knew that they didn't have a lot of money and didn't want her to pay him. He'd rather her spend it on her child. So
Okay, so yeah, just talk about what it was like meeting each other, dating, marriage, starting a family, while in medical school.
Okay, all right. So I met Carlos when he was at medical school and I was in nursing school. And I thought he was really cute and really different looking, and I kind of stalked him until he finally asked me out, and we fell in love and got married. And this was, I guess, second year medical school. Third year medical school, we had a baby, and I had saved money, so we had enough money to live, and then his uncle gave us some money just to buy groceries and things like that. And so it was important to Carlos for me to stay home with the baby, and I really appreciated that. So we were able to make ends meet, stay home with Sarah, and we had Angela when he was at his residency. And it was actually a fun time. We didn't have money, but all our friends didn't have money either. We lived in kind of a little tenement, and everybody was in the same situation, and we all knew we were poor, but we weren't going to stay poor, and we had high expectations. And anyway, it was fine. It was okay. I don't remember it being stressful.
So like in Houston, were the people that you lived with, were they all med school people too?
Yes, everyone in our apartment complex was in some sort of medical profession, in school. And so we had that in common. It was international, so people were there from all over the world. But, what we had in common was that we were struggling students, and we had expectations of a good profession.
Well, how did you end up in Kerrville, or how did you choose Kerrville?
When he was doing his residency, and first of all, we had driven through Kerrville on our honeymoon. and we thought it was a very pretty town. We really liked it. And when he was a child, he had gone to Methodist camp in Kerrville, one summer. So he knew, we had good vibes about Kerrville. And so then when he was doing his residency, he had an opportunity to do an internship or, I think it was a 3-month stint in Kerrville. So he took it, and we loved it. It just felt like we were home, So that's how we ended up in Kerrville.
What's your favorite place you lived?
Let's see. I don't know if I have a favorite. I really enjoyed, I've kind of enjoyed every place that we lived. I feel like Kerrville was definitely my childhood home. That's where I had my childhood. And then, New York was fun. It was lots of snow. We learned to ski there and ice skate and pick apples and mountains. And then, of course, Colorado was fun with skiing and hiking, and it was good to be back in Texas. So I'm really thankful for the places that we got to live.
New York was really fun. Building snow forts and having that experience was really fun, but it was still going to be Colorado for me. I just found it so beautiful, and I had a horse, and so it'd be hard for me to ever say it wasn't Colorado. I liked Brenham too. No one else in the family did, but I'm really happy that Mom and Dad moved to Waco. It's definitely been just a good place for them to build their home, and I love that we all live close to each other, except for Andy.
So for me, I remember it was really hot, like it was a hot summer in Kerrville, and Sarah had this map of the United States in her bedroom that she could pull down. And he said, I get to choose the first 2 places we live, and I wanted to go to the furthest place north we could go. So we thought, Lima, Maine, there was this base in Maine, and it closed. It was closing, so we couldn't go down there. So the next furthest north place was Plattsburgh, New York. So we chose Plattsburgh, New York, because it was going to be different than, somewhere in Texas. So that's how we chose that.
What's your favorite place we lived?
Probably Colorado. I was homeschooled at the time, and Mom made sure we took lots of educational trips to go skiing. So I just remember that. It was beautiful weather and just like a really cool place. So Colorado was probably my favorite place we lived, followed by Waco. Obviously, I like Waco. I'm glad we ended up here.
What do you think Dad will do next?
I think Dad will probably do a lot of grandkid stuff. He'll probably do some Centrum Silver things with Mom. He'll go on hikes and adventures around Texas. I hope they come to Thailand. I hope he comes to Thailand a few times, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure the garden will become like an old person garden. There's just like everything is going to be a place for something to grow. So yeah, I think he'll stay busy with family and kids and just things around, and then sprinkle in some trips and stuff like that. That's my guess.
I honestly don't know. I hope he does a whole lot of nothing for a while. I think he's worked since he was probably 16 or younger, and so the thought of him not working, I love that for him. I hope he enjoys every minute. I'm sure he's going to become even more of an expert smoker, have a beautiful garden, spend some time with Bo, but I know he's going to find something. I don't know what that is, but I really hope he takes a little bit of time to just be lazy and do nothing. Congratulations, Dad.
Okay, what do I think he's going to do next? I think I heard you say, I think it's going to take us a while, excuse me, to figure out what we want to do. I mean, we don't have big bucket list plans to, see the world or anything like that. I think it's going to be pretty simple, and I think it is going to be a process of just figuring out what we do with this luxury of time. So I know one thing he wants to do is take naps.
I don't know. It's really hard for me to imagine Dad not working. So I could see it taking him a little while to figure out what he's going to do, but I guess I see him doing something. I have some ideas for him that he could do at the kids' school, like especially at Charlotte School. There's like something called Destination Imagination. It's a big science competition, and they need people. They need some sponsors for that. So.
I look forward to spending more time and maybe fish more because I like fishing with Grandpa, and that's really fun.
I hope to garden more with you, and I'm excited about expanding the garden and planting new fruits and vegetables.
We want to play wordscapes and garden on the property.
Do you have any projects you think he might work on out at the property, or
Maybe chickens.
you think he might have chickens?
I hope so.
Oh, you hope so. What would you want to do with chickens?
What do you hope to do with Grandpa when he's retired?
Well, I also hope to continue to fish with him in Rockport and other places as well. And then just spend more time with him, maybe gardening or working at the property or just doing more things outside.
I think he's going to do lots of fishing and lots of napping. And I guess let's just, if there's anything else you'd like to say.
I don't know. I actually do have memories of living in Houston, and I know that at that time, Dad was still in medical school, and I remember moving to Kerrville, and I know that was when he was doing his, I guess he had just started, maybe doing his residency. Anyway, just starting out. So I remember from pretty much from the beginning until now, and so of course that's been my entire life. So I think that's why it's hard for me to imagine Dad not working, but I just think it's great that he has worked so hard all these years, and now I hope that he can really enjoy these next years. I think it's exciting. It's really neat.
Cool.
I just want to say I'm really excited about, this new chapter in our lives, and I have expectations of great things ahead, and I'm super excited.
Congratulations. It's really cool that that you're getting to retire, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you choose to do. I think whatever you do, it's going to be great.
Hey there, congratulations on retiring after 100 illustrious years of work. I hope you catch a lot of fish with your free time. Bye.
Again. Okay. Hey, do you guys remember what Grandpa did when he had a job?
Yes.
What?
Daniel Tiger.
Daniel Tiger. What do you think, Noble? Do you remember what Grandpa did when he had a job?
Daniel Tiger.
Daniel Tiger. He was a doctor. Did you know that?
Yes.
What does a doctor do?
Check people's stomach.
Uh-huh.
Belly button.
He checks belly buttons. That's true. Did he ever check your belly button?
My belly button.
Oh, we've gotten sidetracked. Okay, put your shirt down. Put your shirt down. Now, what else does a doctor do? Do you remember? Did they ever...
Shot your booties.
Shot your booty? Like with, you got a shot? Yeah, that's...
Shot booties and your dogs get shot. Shot booties.